Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Terri Morrow and I'm here with Catherine Haleko. Say hi, Catherine.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast we talk about parenting issues, but once a week Catherine and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. This week we're going to be talking about the Hamilton Mixtape and various other Lin-Manuel Miranda-related projects, and we're going to be continuing our West Wing watch with Noel. But first, we will launch into the show we are following up Dancing with the Stars with. We are going to be watching The Great American Baking Show, which had its debut last Thursday. And it's hard for me to imagine a show that is as far from Dancing with the Stars as it is possible to get. Other than there being a competition and somebody eliminated each week and somebody at the top of the leaderboard, this is pretty much sequin and sparkle free.
Right.
It is pretty much backstage drama and showmance and
producer shenanigan
free. It's like the anti-producer shenanigan show. So it makes a nice contrast.
Yes, and the people are so wholesome and earnest and lovely. There's
It's definitely in the British model. I wouldn't have thought that they could be quite so genteel with Americans, but they are trying very hard. I think there is possibly maybe 40% more stink eye in the American version, but it's still discreet.
It's very discreet.
And that's
yes.
editing. That's not necessarily the people. I bet there was stink eye in the British version too.
Yeah. It really is so very similar to the British version.
Is.
Everything from, the tent and the set and the exact, these are the 3 challenges they do every show. And they have, Mary Berry is the only person who's the same, but they have the 2 cute co-hosts and they have the good looking but slightly meaner judge, but not really that mean.
Not very mean.
And all of those things are directly brought over from the British version.
It is very similar. I am very fond of the hosts, Nia Vardalos and Ian Gomez, who I know Ian Gomez from Cougar Town, where he played a total goofball. And he's quite genteel on this as he and Nia walk around visiting with the cooks, making little comments.
I kind of wish they were a little funnier.
Yeah, are the ones in the British show funny?
Yeah, they are funny.
Yeah, these guys are not funny.
No, it's just,
and
they're pleasant.
Yes.
And sometimes they do try to throw in a little something, but I feel like they're being held back from being funnier. I don't know.
It would disrupt the whole mellow vibe, I think, if they were funny. I think it's like a warm blanket of a show. I tried very hard not to fall asleep, although it was kind of a risk. But I did enjoy it very much. It's like, I don't know, it's just so low key and no stress. And really, it's stress for the bakers, but not for the viewer very much.
Right.
And just watching pretty baked goods go by. And some people did good and some people did bad, but everybody's friendly. And I want to I think they need to have like a camera in. These people are all living someplace together, right? During the course of this.
It sure sounds like they made it sound like that.
They did. They were having a campfire one day, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
And they do
karaoke.
I want to see the hidden camera in there, but it's like I'm thinking of all the American competition shows. Project Runway came to mind, and everything on Food
Top
Network.
Chef,
all the competitions on Food Network are cutthroat, man. And to see these people all we're just baking our things, and while they're not necessarily helping each other or rooting for each other, they are also not bargaining to tie some ridiculous challenge over somebody's neck, It's just, we're just all here baking, man. We're just baking.
Just making our cookies.
So my husband passed through the room a few times, as he does with Dancing with the Stars, and in this case, rather than making a face at some of the costumes or whatever, he kept commenting on the lady who got eliminated in the first episode.
The grandma.
Yeah.
And what was his
I believe he felt she was kind of scary looking. She did have a certain look to her.
Yes, but she was She was fun. I mean,
she was
like,
very fun. Yes.
I got powdered sugar from here to breakfast.
She was. She was very fun and doomed pretty clearly from the beginning. Right. So it was...
Yeah, and I mean, even down to they've cast it like they cast the British one with people of varying ages and ethnicities and careers and family situations, and just it's nice and diverse in terms of not just skin color, but just the type of people that they are and their background and their story. So
there's that one contestant who's, I think he's a surgeon. Did they say he was?
Yeah.
And I was really surprised because he looked like he was going to have a heart attack just from putting his desserts together. Right. He looked so stressed out by this whole baking experience. I'm like,
right. And you're like, how are you?
I thought maybe he had some nice little desk job someplace, in a very low-key existence, but he's a surgeon.
But then at one point he started talking about medical illustration. So then I thought, did he go to medical school and decide that what he really needed to do was illustration because his heart couldn't handle it? I don't know. I'll have to keep an eye on him and make sure he's doing okay.
Yeah, I have been worried for him a couple of times. I liked the fact that quite a lot of these things that they were making didn't turn out so well. Is that the case on the British one too? I mean, these are obviously talented enough bakers that they've gotten to this place. But, the point is made that doing things in your own kitchen where you know where everything is and you know what to do and, you're baking in a tent and the temperature and the humidity and the type of oven is different. I mean, I know every house I've lived in, I've had to bake things differently because the ovens all have a personality of their own. Right. So I kind of liked that not everything comes out well for everybody. Right. Even the really good bakers sometimes
it doesn't
work out so well. Although I saw Jeremiah put up on his Twitter feed a picture of what his cake was supposed to look like, and it didn't look that much better to me. I don't know. It was a very unusual looking cake. That he had intended it to look that way.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the different things they make and how the sort of level of competition increases as they go along.
Yeah, I like it. I like it as a sort of a different thing from the sort of the hyper professionalism of the Food Network challenges, where everybody is able to make something spectacular out of miscellaneous things in a box or whatever. That these are they're doing their best, and sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. I was surprised that one of the contestants had to leave, right?
Yes.
In the second episode. So I thought that then they wouldn't send anybody home, but they still did. So now aren't they short a person?
I know. It would seem like that. On all the other reality type competition shows, that is what they would do. Yeah. They would say, well, since so-and-so went home, that means we have a spot opening. So we get to, you don't have to leave.
I think Courtney should file a challenge.
Recount.
Yeah, exactly. So what if all I could make for my 3D cookie scene was one sad little shack?
It was really sad. You had to feel bad for him because he was so charming, and he's obviously he has a beautiful voice, and they like the taste of what he did.
Right.
But oh my, it did look very sad.
That was very sad. Yeah, I enjoy it. I look forward to watching it more. It will be a nice thing to watch, just when I just want to sit and chill out and relax and have something very soothing go by. Even though it's a competition, it's very polite.
Right.
I like that in my food-related TV. It's sort of like the HGTV of cooking shows, It's just very nice. Right. Something very pleasant passing by your TV.
And the only issue that I tend to have is I get hungry while I'm watching.
Yeah.
For something
the bar
sweet
cookies
and baked.
Did it to me. Of all the stuff that they did, it was the bar cookies. There was one that looked really jammy, and it reminded me of a bar cookie I used to make with oatmeal and raspberry jam, and I wanted to go make it right then, or have somebody make it for me and serve it to me.
Right, better yet.
Except I'm not sure mine would pass. The getting the bottom perfectly baked, that is a problem. I sympathize with the guy whose bar cookie was kind of droopy. That's how mine would be. But you know what? You stuff it in your mouth and it does not matter so
much.
It
sure tastes just as good, doesn't it?
It's not going to have to stand in your hand all that long, let's face it.
Right. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Well, moving on from that to something much more raucous, the Hamilton Mixtape dropped this past Friday, finally, after several little drops of early releases and Lin-Manuel Miranda talking it up sort of endlessly on Twitter and much excitement. And I just enjoy the heck out of it. I don't think that his goal with this was necessarily to get old white ladies to listen to rap, but I'm liking it.
But it's working.
I'm liking it. So, of course, now my son is going to have to find something else to listen to because it's like, I'm like, hey, I like rap. And he's, I'm into country music now, Mom. So he's going to have to find something else to be cool. I have ruined rap for him.
Oh, that's probably a good,
maybe.
like,
and he keeps asking me, is there cursing? And I'm like, yes, there's lots of cursing. Come listen to it with me. And he's like, no. That's Hamilton. I don't have anything to do with that.
Right. But I've already made my decision about Hamilton. Well, yes, I really like it. And I especially like the women belting out songs that not necessarily, I shouldn't say belting out because like Kelly Clarkson doing It's Quiet Uptown is just, she's not really belting it out. It's quieter.
Yeah.
Since it's a song about it being quiet. But it's just really, I think I found so many of the women that he chose, their voices were just so moving. Andra Day doing Burn and Gina Spector on Dear Theodosia. Like it just, wow.
And I love the Jill Scott reimagining of Say No to This from Mariah Reynolds' point of view. That's quite enjoyable. And so many good things on it. I really, I liked the raps and I liked the songs. And it was interesting, the two Dear Theodosia versions, both very good and very moving.
And also having some demos and some sort of things that were left on the cutting room floor that you get to hear. Those are great. It's such a complex mix of reimaginings, reinventions, things that didn't end up in the show, things that really just take a tiny, like Immigrants, We Get the Job Done, just takes one little line really and spins it out completely in a whole bunch of different new ways.
Yeah, and same with I Wrote My Way Out. I love the hook on that. It's so beautiful. It's a lot of fun. I had it on pretty much constant replay all through the weekend, driving everybody around me crazy, but I enjoy it. So I'm really, really happy to have that. And apparently there's going to be another one at some point with all the ones,
really?
Yeah, all the ones they didn't finish in time for this one.
Okay.
There was a really sweet thing going on Twitter today where he got a note from somebody he had made a mixtape of years ago, like in college, who was saying this is exactly the sort of thing that Lin used to do. If you had a birthday or a road trip or you broke up with somebody, he would make you a mixtape and he would pace it just exactly like this. And it had a lot of the same artists who were on this. It's just always been a thing for him. And then a couple of other people said, oh yeah, here's a picture of the one you gave me for this. And he remembered what was on it and that it was a good one. So it's something that he's known for. And it's kind of cool that he made one for all of us.
Yeah. Thanks, LMM.
Absolutely. He was sick over the weekend and couldn't tweet, and it was like a big hole in my life.
Where are you, my friend?
His wife took his phone away and made him sleep. So. Anyway, well, speaking of LMM, we also have consumed a couple of other of his products. We watched Drunk History, which was telling the story of Hamilton.
Right.
I had never watched that show before. We'll probably never watch it again, but I enjoyed that little half hour.
I have seen it before, and this was one of the more reserved versions, I would have to say. My husband was like, he just doesn't seem very drunk at all. So, the show is obviously more fun when the person who's doing the talking is rambling, and maybe it's a combination of the fact that he knows so much about Hamilton and he knows it so well that he's able to say it even under the influence. But I would also think that there would be the potential there that he does know so much that he could go off on 50 different tangents. And so I found it, it was still fun to watch because of the way that they film it, where the narrator is going along and then they have people acting it out and basically lip syncing. And so that whole aspect of drunk history is just funny. So it worked even though he wasn't that drunk.
I enjoyed it. And you listened to the Marc Maron podcast finally?
I did. Yeah. WTF with Marc Maron. And he had an interview with Lin-Manuel Miranda. And honestly, I've never listened to that podcast before. I know it's super popular and people love it.
Yeah. I listen to it fairly regularly.
But
whenever it's somebody I'm interested in.
I really enjoyed it. I thought he asked really good questions. And he got a lot of interesting material that we don't always hear. So
yeah, definitely, if you haven't listened to it and you are as much of a Lin-Manuel Miranda fan as we are, look it up. It is out there on iTunes and wherever you acquire your podcasts. Right. You should be able to find
and you can skip about the first 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, if you're not into Marc Maron, you can skip his little monologues at the beginning and just fast forward to the interview portion.
The honored guest portion.
Well, are we moving on now to The West Wing?
Sure. Something of which Lin-Manuel Miranda is a fan.
That's correct. And this was also an episode in which music figured very heavily, though not rap. Yo-Yo Ma.
Yo-Yo Ma. That was cool. That was beautiful.
It really was beautiful. And the whole episode, did we say the name of the episode? We watched the episode Noel, which is, a spoiler alert, the one where Josh has PTSD, as diagnosed by Adam Arkin as a psychiatrist from a organization that works with people who have been traumatized.
Right. And he's great.
He is. He comes back later in the series.
In the same role. Continuing to work with Josh. Okay.
No, with
someone else.
I can't say. I could give a hint, but that would spoil it. So somebody else.
Just say somebody else. Okay.
But I can't remember what season that is. But he's wonderful, and he was similarly wonderful in that one. Really, really like this episode. It's one of my favorites. It's one I show to people who haven't seen the series and go, "Isn't this great?"
Yeah, it's really gripping. It's you get a lot of flashbacks to basically to the In the Shadow of Two Gunmen, which was also all about flashbacks.
Right.
But to the shooting incident and how deeply it affected Josh And why wouldn't it?
Right. We don't just bounce back from this stuff, as it turns out. But just as they mentioned on the West Wing Weekly podcast, they should have gotten the editor on to talk to, because that was just, the editing on that was so amazing. The way it went back and forth between short-term flashbacks and then flashbacks all the way to the shooting, and then the editing of that scene in his apartment where he puts the glass down, the sound editing on that, where there's a disjoint between the sound that breaking a glass would make and the sound that we're hearing. And it's like your ear recognizes it, but you don't quite know what to make of it until the end. That's just awesome. And the intercutting of the Yo-Yo Ma playing and the way that piece scores this whole thing where he finally kind of comes to terms with what really happened. How he really cut his hand. It's just really a tour de force of editing and sound editing and just thinking through how to visualize that to some extent and how to feel what he's feeling. And the sirens and coming in whenever there's music, and very nice, very nicely done.
And then the comic relief of the tour guide who called the only person who calls CJ Claudia Jean.
Yes.
And tells her that she's freakishly tall and he doesn't like her jewelry, and she just continues to adore him because he's just charming.
Yes, he is so just a thing.
And we needed that in this episode.
Yes, that was good comic relief and a nice little human interest story of the painting.
Absolutely.
As unlikely as it is, you have to just sort of let it wash over you that CJ just happens to be looking at a picture in a file with that painting in the background that Josh can then look at and say, oh, it's that painting. So they put it all together. I never quite was clear how they had this photograph of
right.
that woman as a little girl with the painting. That seemed unlikely to me. But I'm willing to let it go because the plot was very nice.
Right. I also had logistical questions about why I forgot what his title was, but the head of, the one who called her Claudia Jean.
Yes.
Why he was wearing white tie when they were going to have a party, because, wouldn't he just not be there at that time of day? I don't know. Because I originally thought that the party was not at the White House, so then I really didn't understand why he would be all dressed up. But it seemed that it was at the White House. So
maybe he also hit up Josh for an invite, just like Donna.
It's Yo-Yo Ma. He rules.
Yo-Yo Ma rules.
And Donna, being the loyal.
Yes, that was very sweet.
Taking him to the doctor and also being the one who's like, he needs help.
Right.
There's something really wrong.
Right. Although again, with you have to let things wash over you.
Mm-hmm.
If he goes to an emergency room, he's going to have to tell somebody how he cut his hand, right? And it's going to have to be consistent with the injury. And then isn't that going to be in the Washington Post the next morning?
Yeah, maybe.
Don't they have doctors at the White House?
I know.
Don't they just send them down to someplace next to the steam pipe trunk distribution venue? Don't they have a little,
I thought that too. Emergency room, maybe seems. Don't they have a plastic surgeon kind of on call that they could?
I think so.
Yeah.
Keep this on the down low, I think, is a good idea.
Right. Well, and I just watched, I'm watching The Crown, which is the Netflix series about the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Mm-hmm. And they had this amazing scene where her father was being operated on for what they called lung disease, which is really riddled with tumors. And they showed the operation taking place in Buckingham Palace with, humongous crystal chandelier. And, they have all their equipment and some other lights and white sheets and everything. But this
can't possibly be sterile.
Well, it was 1950s.
I guess so.
It was quite dramatic, let me tell you.
Yeah. I think that they could at least have a little Medi Center down in the basement that they could
a little
send all the employees to. Yeah.
At my husband's office, you could get a flu shot.
Yeah. When I used to work for Hallmark, they had a little clinic there in the...
Yeah. So what's holding them back at the White House? They need to get some better medical
Yes. Yes. Don't be sending your employees with possible career-threatening injuries out to just any old place.
Just any old ER.
They need to find that anesthesiologist who didn't spill about the MS and ask him to put a few stitches in the hand, would you?
Right.
We know you can keep a secret, buddy.
Keep it quiet.
Keep it under your surgical cap, will you? Well, this was a wonderful episode. I really enjoyed watching it again, and I enjoyed hearing the podcast about it. And Bradley Whitford was on talking about it. They've had him on twice, even though he and Josh are sworn enemies. So.
Yes, they're very funny together.
They are. Okay, so now what is the next one up for us on West Wing?
It is the Leadership Breakfast.
An episode I have a lot less enthusiasm over than I did Noel. But you know what? You got to have a clunker every now and then. And maybe I'll like it on rewatch. I just don't remember it fondly.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll find out and we'll discuss it next time.
Yes, and we will be again watching The Great American Baking Show, which is on ABC. On Thursdays at 9 o'clock?
I think so, but don't quote us on that.
Is it going to be 2 hours every time?
Also,
ABC's got
question.
A lot of real estate, apparently.
Let's see. Well, they build the first one, it was 2 separate shows.
Yes.
Back to back.
Right.
So maybe they are going to just cut back to... That's on at 9 o'clock.
It's on at 9 o'clock.
But maybe they're... Yeah.
We are so organized. We are looking this up, ladies and gentlemen, even as we're talking to you.
Well, that's what the internet is for.
That's true.
So, unclear. to me whether it is going to be an hour each week or 2 hours. It's only 8 parts, so maybe they're going to fit it all in the month of December. Like 2 per week.
So, because I think they're calling it season 2, even though season 1 was like a specifically holiday baking show.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they are thinking of this as a holiday baking show, but they are calling it the Great American Baking Show because they want all the Great British Baking Show people to accidentally tune into it, thinking they're going to see British people.
I feel like if you liked that one, you will like.
Oh
this
my goodness,
one.
yes!
It's very.
The only
very
thing missing
similar.
is the accents.
Right.
Other than that, it's very, very much in that template,
Mm-hmm.
and down to the sweet little trivia bits about each contestant.
Right.
They enjoy ballroom. At least 2 of them enjoy ballroom dancing. So maybe if the campfires and the karaoke gets old, they can
start
bring in
dancing.
somebody from Dancing with the Stars to come and give them some lessons.
They would love that.
It's the off season. But they could get one of those troop guys in there. Alan, what's Alan doing right now?
It's ABC. It's the same network. Like, let's get some coordination going here.
All right. Well, that will be it for our round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes, including our daily speed rounds and weekly group chats. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Catherine.
Bye, Terri.
Goodbye, everybody.